Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Minister Fergus O'Dowd to the podium.
Thank you very much. I was looking at your little video there earlier, and I didn't see the dancing bear, but the bear in our lives as politicians is often the member of the public who's particularly cross at us because we didn't listen to them or we didn't perform in the way they expected in terms of whatever their personal issue is. And I suppose I enjoyed that very much because we do think a lot about things that consume us as politicians, our agendas for our meetings, our proposals for change in our community, our interaction with our local governments, either north or south of the border. And I suppose it's really, as your image pointed out, so there's other things going on, and it's really to keep abreast of them. And in that context, I think this conference and this this programme that you're launching today is very, very important indeed. And it's a great privilege for me to be here today on the publication of your regional strategic framework for the Central Border region. I suppose I used to be Mayor of Drogheda. I was Mayor of Drogheda 3 times, which I was elected a long time ago. I'd say the same time as you were, Matt, first time. 1974, I was elected Drogheda Borough Council, and for most of my life, I've been involved. 27 years I was involved in local government, and I'm very much tuned into the needs of local government, the needs of communities, towns, of counties, and of issues between adjoining counties, or as it is in this case here, between adjoining jurisdictions. And I accept and support fully the changes that you're proposing in this project. If you think back to the 1970s, there was very little communication north and south. There was very little indeed. There was a lot of trouble, obviously, serious civil strife. There was a lot of mistrust. There were a lot of problems which we have thankfully put behind us. And by working together as you are doing, by cooperating together as you are doing, by having a plan together as you are doing, it brings about change that doesn't threaten any political force, any political party, any one individual. Everybody retains their own beliefs and their own principles and will continue to fight for them and to in the council chambers, in our democratic politics, to put forward their particular point of view. But it's by working together, getting new synergies, that's where the future is. I suppose one of the criticisms there is of government, whether I'm not too sure about the north, certainly in the south, that everything is Dublin-centred, or everything is perhaps Belfast-centred, or that the west of the country or the Midlands doesn't receive its fair share of the cake. And I suppose if you reflect on it, and with Jack Keys and members of Cavan County Council, I've gone to and looked at very significant developments in that county, where with the leadership of the local authority and the executive, they can transform a community. And I suppose the real issues, if you travel in these counties that you represent, is the beautiful environment that you have, the agricultural strengths that you have, but the beautiful scenery, the fabulous lakes and rivers, the wonderful tourism amenities that you have. And I think by working together and cooperating, particularly in that platform, to me is a very useful, a very constructive thing to do. One of the things I'm actually involved in, one of the departments in communications, is what we call natural resources. Now, they include issues like mining, like fracking, obviously, like inland fisheries, and there are issues that are big issues north and south of the border. I know that the increasing inland fisheries, I knew nothing about fisheries till I got the job, and then I realised that in every parish and every town, and I'm sure there's some fishermen here, or fisher ladies, fisher people, for want of a better word. I want to be politically correct. The issue is that attracting people like fishermen or families with their families to local communities in rural areas is a fantastic achievement, because there's beautiful amenities that you have there, the quality of the fishing, the quality of the environment, where they stay, where they go to the local pub for their dinner or whatever. It's a tremendous boon, I think, to local tourism. And it's by building on our inland fisheries and by promoting them. And fisheries and fish and rivers know no boundaries, political or otherwise. And I think that there's great room for cooperation in terms of inland fishery policies, north and south anyway. The other area I think is very important is that the TELUS strategy, I know those north of the border would know more about it than all of us in the south, because we were only published our data recently. But the TELUS strategy has done fantastic work for farmers, for county councils, for everybody, because we now know on the counties north and south of the border exactly what the underlying geology is. So every farmer will know how they can improve their animal husbandry, what they can do to improve their plant husbandry. And we also know, I'm sure the mayors will be very pleased at this, and I know they know it already, where the gold is. What the TELUS strategy has discovered is new areas where gold can be mined north and south of the border, and a significant improvement that had in terms of Northern Ireland is that since they published their statistics in 2007, I think something like 32 million has been invested in mining activities in the north. And whereas before the TELUS strategy commenced in the north of Ireland, there was something like 15% of the landmass was covered with mining exploration licenses. In other words, where people had the right to look to see if there were possibility for mineral exploitation. Now up to 70% of the landmass of Northern Ireland is covered by people who are interested in exploiting natural resources. And my job in the south is that exploitation of natural resources. And our TELUS strategy, hopefully, will lead to the same significant developments that have happened north of the border. And obviously, mining is a very important issue. Obviously, it's a very highly sensitive environmental issue, but it's very important to rural communities, communities in disparate areas far from cities and towns in many cases, where there are deep natural resources which can lead to significant job creation in those areas. I know that yesterday I was in Tara Mines in County Meath, where we agreed with the company there to give a new 10-year lease. There's going to be a major expansion or extension to the mine. At the moment, there are 650 people employed there directly, with many more indirectly. And what I'm saying is, by using the policies of government, by working with indigenous industries and companies, you can build up and form a new partnership. And what happens north of the border, can help us in the south, and what happens in the south can help you in the north. And I think regional policy, planning and development policy, spatial strategy, all of those things are very important. The other issue that was announced today, which may be of interest to people, is a major environmental issue north and south of the border, is the question of shale gas, or what's called fracking, and the question of the resources that may or may not be there, the extent of them, the energy that could be supplied if they were exploited, the issues, very serious issues in relation to the environment, in relation to water tables, in relation to the use of carcinogenic chemicals or not using them, the technology, the science right around the world. This is a big step forward in north and south of the border, because this Environment Protection Agency offer for science, in other words, it's $1 million, I presume some of you heard on the radio this morning maybe, is that we're going to spend €1 million, that's the administration north and south of the border, in looking at all of the science, all of the technology, all of the water table issues, all of the European countries that use fracking, all of the European countries that have banned it. What is the state of play in terms of technology? And it'll take probably up to 2 years before we have those facts. But when we do have them, then we'll be in a position to decide on a scientific basis as to what the real issues are. Can it be done? Can it not be done? How do we deal with it? What are the environmental issues? What is best practice, and so on? And I think that's an example of North-South. And I suppose the big bear in the picture again is the fellow we're all watching. That the electorate are out there. They don't all have sore heads, by the way, all the time, as we all know. What I'm saying really is that how we relate to the electorate is what they will think of what we actually do. And in a personal way, by standing for election, as all of you have in the past, being elected, and standing for election in the South particularly, I'm aware of the importance in your life, of issues like today, and that you can knock on a door and you can say, well, look, this is what we're doing as a community, north and south. These are the proposals that we have, and they're really important, and we think that they matter a lot, and that we would hope, that we would continue as councillors in your local authority to continue to do that. So basically, I have a speech here, but I'm sure, I'll just stick to just a few key points before I finish. I just want to thank you for your commitment to your community. It's very easy, to criticise a politician, and we all do it all the time. And particularly when you're in a parliament or in a council, you have your comments that you express in private about everybody. But I think that we have a very difficult job to do, and there are difficult times, there are challenging times, north and south. And it's very important that you show that leadership at this time so that people know that people care, that you have a plan, and that you're working together. And I think they're the big messages. So to build the new economic strength for the regions, which is what you are doing, based on innovation, tradition of entrepreneurship, and endowing strong internationally competitive businesses. It was a really strong place to do business with new economic strengths that you're building on. Ensure the growth of your region is inclusive in its character, offering a range of opportunities to everybody and recognising the unique challenges of a rural cross-border area. To build on environmental strengths by investing in and developing expertise in renewable energy, energy conservation and sustainable development. So clearly energy is a major issue, and it's a major controversial issue, and I won't enter into the controversy here, but we all know, again, the policy of energy infrastructure. Right, everybody wants it, we don't want it in our field. I suppose that's one way of looking at it. But there are health concerns, there are lots of other concerns. Again, when dealing with improving our energy supply, in dealing with improving our renewable energy, getting our renewable energy to the national grid, whether it be north or south, is a major economic issue. It's a major political issue, it's a major regional issue, and it's a serious local issue. And I think by putting all of the facts out there, by being transparent, by involving the best expertise you can get nationally and internationally to make your case, I think that at least will inform the debate. And whatever the outcomes of the statutory process, while they are separate and different from the political process, I think it's very important that, that there's transparency and accountability and all of the science, all of the facts to be put into the mix. And I think that's the way forward. To improve the ability of the central border region to connect with other regions and its internal connections. I know an issue, spatial planning initiative, create a new evidence base to track the performance of the area, and by harmonising cross-border data sets, so that if I'm a businessman and I want to propose an investment north or south in an adjoining county, that I look at, and there's joined up thinking, and that what I want on the north of the border is available to me to the south, or vice versa, in terms of services and expertise and knowledge. To move statutory planning process away from the back-to-back approaches of previous years towards a seamless approach where local authorities and planners are thinking transcends the boundaries and the borders. So it's think big, think region on those issues. Develop a coordinated and realistic approach to making the case for necessary investment in transport, communications and energy networks, environmental infrastructure and in education, cultural and community facilities, which are key to attracting investments to an area. To establish future collaborative partnerships as a means to develop indigenous assets and tourism. Your framework is now a call to action for the various statutory and non-statutory planning and economic development processes in both the Republic and in the North. Moreover, the framework will also be of major use to relevant government departments and agencies, North and South, in coordinating their investment plans with each other and planning economic development together. You, as the representatives of the people of the central border area, have more work to do as well. Any framework or plan is only as good as the effort put in to implement it. You now have developed the framework, you own it, and the next step is to implement it. The next stage will necessitate stakeholders sitting down and working together to prioritise the key ambitions and opportunities. And this, I understand, you'll be doing in the form of a regional action plan, which will set out the detailed targets and resources required. And that's really, you've done the homework, now you've got to put it into action. I believe that relevant departments, including the Department of Regional Development in the North, the Department of the Environment in the South, and my own department also in communications, are ready, willing and able to engage with and support you in that process. So I think that's really the key message, that I want to congratulate you all for your commitment to change, to leadership, and it's a great honour for me to be here. So what can I say finally? I just say that you know, I mean, Matt will know this, and so will Desi there. You know, like I've met councillors all my life, like since 1974. As I say, I was elected when I was 5 years old. That's true, by the way. No, I was a little bit older than that, but I cannot impress upon you, and those that know me well will know that, like, I'm totally committed to local government. I spent most of my life in it, and I always feel that, notwithstanding all the national issues, critical and important as they most certainly are, and the role you have as a TD or as a minister or whatever is separate to your role as a councillor, but to reaffirm the importance of local government, the independence of local government and the leadership role, and by giving local authorities more power over their planning, more power over their destiny, and by you coalescing and working together in your region is the only way to build real, active, successful communities, so that your children and your grandchildren will have opportunities in the future to work in your area should they choose to do so. And to me, that's the most important thing of all. We have serious problems, obviously, north and south, with immigration. We have serious problems with youth unemployment. And I think it's by having a proper thought-out regional plan like what you're doing will show the leadership and give authority to your local authority and to yourselves and to your region, that people say, yes, these guys are standing up, they're standing up to the mark, they're making their plan serious and real and tangible and working together. So if you're an inward investor or if you're an indigenous local firm looking to expand, that you will have the confidence and the absolute knowledge and the certainty of support for your enterprise and for your ideas. So keep up the good work, and thank you for listening to me.